In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, dear friends of Radiance of Islam, Amina's Wisdom. In the foggy city of Hyo, where ancient temples stood beside glass skyscrapers, lived 10-year-old Amina, a Muslim girl unlike any other. Her father Malik was a Swedish convert to Islam. Her mother Leonhua was a kind but strong Chinese woman. Together they raised Amina in a home filled with faith, love, and respect for all cultures. Amina wasn't an ordinary child. By age 10, she had memorized large parts of the Quran, spoke fluent Mandarin, asked deep questions about life. Her mother always said, Amina doesn't just read the Quran, she lives it. Whether helping the poor, greeting neighbors, or joining food drives, Amina's kindness shone brighter than her age. The day everything changed. One rainy afternoon, the city's grand Interfaith forum was packed. Famous monks, scholars, and spiritual leaders filled the hall. Among them was Monk Wensa, a well-known Buddhist teacher, wise but proud. As Monk Wensa spoke, he subtly criticized religions that trap the soul with rules instead of freeing it. He didn't name Islam, but his meaning was clear. Amina's small hand tightened around her mother's. "Mommy," she whispered, "can I say something?" Leonhua hesitated, but saw the quiet fire in her daughter's eyes. "Speak wisely," she said. The question that silenced the room. When the mic opened for questions, Amina stepped forward. The crowd chuckled. What could a child possibly say? Then she spoke in clear Mandarin. "Monk Wensa, is peace found by removing all rules or following the right ones?" The monk smiled. "Rules are cages. True peace is freedom." Amina replied gently, "Then should people hurt others if it makes them free?" Silence. Wensa frowned. "No, of course not." "Then that's a rule," Amina said. "A rule not to harm. Maybe not all rules are cages. Maybe they're bridges." The room froze. Cameras turned. No one expected this from a 10-year-old girl. The final blow, a truth he couldn't deny. Monk Wensa stayed quiet, thinking hard. Amina pressed on. "Does Buddhism believe in karma?" "Yes," he said. "Good and bad actions return to us." "Then karma is a rule too," Amina said. "In Islam, we call it accountability before Allah." "Maybe we're not so different." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Then she delivered the final blow. "When Muslims pray, we stand side by side. Rich, poor, black, white, Chinese, Arab. No ranks, just hearts united. Isn't that true unity, monk?" Wensa had no answer. His lips parted, but no words came. He had debated kings and scholars, yet a child's simple wisdom left him speechless. The crowd watched, stunned. Amina had done the impossible. Amina spoke softly but firmly. "I know you didn't mean to hurt us, but when you said other religions divide, maybe you missed how they bring people together. Through prayer, charity, and patience. My mother is Chinese. My father is Sudanese. Islam didn't pull them apart. It united them." The room was silent, then filled with quiet applause. Some wiped tears. Even the moderator, who'd hesitated to let a child speak, nodded respectfully. But the most striking reaction came from two Buddhist nuns in front. They exchanged glances, eyes shining. One whispered, "This child, her heart holds light." Amina stepped back, bowed, and returned to her mother. Leonhua kissed her head. No words needed. The kiss said everything. When Monk Wenzhao spoke again, his tone had changed. No longer bold, but humbled. "I came to teach, but I left having learned. Maybe I spoke too soon about things I don't yet understand." Later, alone in the empty hall, the monk sat staring at the stage, as if it mirrored a part of himself he'd ignored for years. Malik, Amina's father, approached gently. "She didn't mean to challenge you, only to share the truth." The monk smiled, not polite, but real. "I know, sometimes truth doesn't come from scholars, it comes from the mouth of a child." The aftermath, truth has consequences. The debate didn't fade, it went viral. Clips spread on Weibo, YouTube, everywhere. The title? 10-year-old Muslim girl silences monk with one truth. People reacted fiercely. Some called her a light in dark times. Others asked, How does a child speak like this? A few dismissed it as staged. Many were left speechless. But offline, trouble began. A letter arrived. Malik and Leona's food charity was suspended. A warning. Neighbors stopped greeting them. The bakery canceled their orders. Better not for now. Amina's school called Leona in. Maybe she shouldn't speak publicly anymore. The climate is sensitive. Leona started furious. She answered honestly and kindly. Isn't that what we teach children? The principal sighed. Pressure comes from above. The family's choice. That night they sat together. Tea steaming, hearts heavy. Malik was honest. This won't be easy. Truth scares people, especially when it comes from an unexpected voice. A child, a Muslim girl. It shakes their world. Amina clutched her musaf, quiet. Abba, did I do wrong? He held her hand. No, my jewel. You spoke the truth. But sometimes the world punishes innocence for being right. Leona hugged her. We can stop if it's too much. Amina shook her head. I'm not tired, just sad. Why does truth make people angry? No one answered. Outside, the wind blew through the city, as if even the world held its breath. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Monk Wenzhou sat alone in his study, surrounded by ancient books and scrolls. But tonight, his eyes were fixed on his tablet, replaying the debate with Amina over and over. Her words haunted him, not harsh, not accusing, but unsettling, like a quiet knock on a door he'd kept locked for years. His disciple Jianhui entered with tea. Sefu, you haven't slept since the debate. I'm not sick, Wenzhou murmured, still staring at the screen. Just disturbed. Jian hesitated. By her arguments? No, Wenzhou admitted. By the mirror she held up. I've spent my life teaching detachment, silencing desire. But when she spoke of God's love, it wasn't a chain, it was warm. And for the first time, I envied that. Jian's voice softened. Do you want to speak with her again? Wenzhou finally looked up. Yes, not to debate, but to understand. 1 week later, an envelope arrived at Malik's home, sealed with the Cultural Harmony Foundation's emblem. Inside, a formal invitation, a private dialogue. No cameras, no crowds, just seekers of truth. Malik hesitated. After the backlash last time, was this safe? But Amina's eyes shone. I want to go. Why? Her mother asked. Because Monk Wenzhou wasn't angry, Amina said simply. He was lost, and lost people don't need shouting, just light. The meeting, no stage, no audience, just a quiet circle. Wenzhou in plain gray robes, Amina and her family, and a few thoughtful scholars. When Amina entered, Wenzhou stood and bowed deeply. Thank you for coming, the moderator began. Today, no debates, just honest questions between searching hearts. Silence. Then Wenzhou turned to Amina, his voice raw. How do you know God exists? Amina answered like a child, simple, unshakable. Have you ever felt alone? Then suddenly warmth fills your chest, like invisible arms holding you? Wenzhou's breath caught. Yes. That's him, she said. I've never seen God's face, but I feel him. In prayer, in kindness, even in rules. They're not cages, they're guardrails. Love saying, this way home. Wenzhou's hands trembled. What if I want to know him too? Malik smiled. Then walk with us, not as a teacher or student, just travelers on the same road. The monk closed his eyes. I don't know where this path leads, but I can't pretend the light isn't there anymore. That night, as the city of Hung slept under a gentle rain, Monk Wenzhou sat alone in his quiet room at the monastery. The incense had faded, and the old Zen sayings on his walls no longer felt the same. They weren't worn with time. He was the one who had changed. The silence that once comforted him now echoed with the words of a little girl. He held the small notebook he'd kept since becoming a monk. That night he wrote just one line on an empty page. Maybe I've spent my life learning emptiness, but I know nothing of fullness. Setting the notebook aside, he picked up the Quran, the one Amina had secretly given him. For hours he read, not to argue or compare, but to listen, like a man searching for warmth in a cold room. Meanwhile, Malik and Lianhua worked to keep Amina's spirit strong. Since her school suspension, the house had grown quieter, but not darker. Amina filled her days reading the Quran, studying stories of the prophets, and gazing out the window, thinking deeply. One morning she asked softly, "Abba, did I speak too loudly?" Malik turned from the stove. "Loudness isn't about volume, Amina. It's about the truth. And you spoke the truth." "Then why are people angry?" Lianhua sat beside her. "Because truth is like light. It hurts eyes used to darkness." "That's not your fault." Amina smiled slightly. "Then I'll wait until they're ready to see." 3 days later, an envelope slid under their door. No stamp, no name. Inside was Amina's official suspension notice from the school board. The reason? Environmental unsuitability. Malik clenched the paper. "They want us to vanish." But Amina stood tall. "If they won't let me learn in a classroom, I'll make the world my school." Far away in a mountain temple, Wei faced his own storm. News of his interest in Islam had spread, first as whispers, then as outrage. Students left. The Buddhist Federation called him a traitor. His books vanished from shelves. Even the elders who once praised him now turned away. Yet for the first time, Wei felt peace. Alone in his hut, with only the Quran, a notebook, and candlelight, he wept, not from sadness, but from awakening. That night he wrote, "Truth isn't something you conquer, it's something you surrender to. I spent years meditating to hear my soul. Now I hear a whisper louder than all my chants. La ilaha illallah." Back in Hio, Malik called an old friend, Farid, a Muslim journalist from Shanghai. He came quietly with no cameras, just a notebook. Sitting with Amina, he asked, "Why did you speak up that day?" She shrugged. "Because no one else would. When I heard lies about Islam, my heart wouldn't stay silent." Farid smiled. "Do you know what courage is, Amina? Doing what's right, even when it's scary." Farid's article exploded online. Titled "The Voice of Innocence, A Muslim Girl's Courage in China." It spread worldwide. A Canadian pastor shared it. A Nepalese monk wrote, "She reminds us faith isn't about power, it's about purity." But as light spread, shadows grew darker. The day Amina's video went viral, everything changed. Global support poured in, but so did fury from within China. The girl who changed everything. The government watched Amina's family closely. Agents questioned her brother Malik over and over. They tracked her father Leon's every move. But Amina, she stayed calm. The words of the Quran lived in her heart. "After hardship comes ease," she'd whisper, her favorite verse. Then one morning, that ease arrived in a way no one expected. The monk who stunned a nation. Monk Wenzhou, the same man who once condemned religion, stood before a crowd of reporters. Cameras flashed as he spoke, his voice steady. "I am no longer a monk. I've left Buddhism behind. Today I embrace Islam, not out of anger or fear, but because a 10-year-old girl's faith shattered the darkness inside me." Silence. Then, chaos. The news exploded online. Videos of his confession went viral. The little girl who'd stood up to him had changed everything. At home, Amina watched the live stream with her family. When Monk Wenzhou recited the Shahada, the declaration of faith, tears filled her eyes. Malik smiled. "Allah guides even the most unexpected hearts," he said. But the storm was just beginning. Persecution and courage officials stripped Wenzhou of his titles. Angry mobs vandalized his home. Buddhist leaders called him a traitor, but he refused to hide. With Malik's help, he studied Islam in secret, attending a mosque under a new name, Abdul Hakim. "Let them hate me," he said. "For the first time, I'm free." Meanwhile, Amina returned to school, ignored by her classmates. But she didn't care. She'd already seen how one small voice could shake the world. A miracle in Malaysia. Weeks later, Amina and Abdul Hakim were invited to a major interfaith event. There, Hakim moved the crowd to tears. "I used to think the truth was silence. Then a child taught me, truth must be spoken. I found Islam not in books, but in her unshakable faith." When Amina spoke, she kept it simple. I'm not special. I just listen to Allah. You don't need to be old to be wise, just honest. By the end of the night, 3 Buddhist monks converted to Islam. One admitted, I came for peace and found it here. The ripple effect. Back in their hometown, something shifted. Neighbors who once avoided Amina's family now nodded in respect. Some even asked about the Quran. Journalist Farid wrote a famous article, When Truth Speaks Through a Child. It spread worldwide. The government backed off. They'd learned, you can't silence the truth. It only grows louder. The final scene. Under a sky full of stars, Amina prayed softly, Ya Allah, make me a light for the lost. Keep me kind, not loud, brave, not proud, always close to you. Far away, Abdul Hakim stood outside a new mosque, tears streaming, not from regret, from joy. This isn't just a story about religion. It's about how one small voice can change everything. And it all started with a little girl and her Quran. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time and support. Remember to share, like, and subscribe to show your support. I'll see you tomorrow back here on YouTube. Take care of yourself.